discussion, because I imagine before these charges are proffered against my members, there's some sort of investigation, fact-finding, reviewing of the Hansard, reviewing of the video material. It just makes sense to me, at least I would suggest to any rational person, that if you've got two people engaging and you called it, they were talking, or rather Mr. Tambo was talking to the Sergeant at Arms, and then are prompted to give a different answer by a follow-up question, surely in the course of that investigation, it is only proper, particularly if your answer is he was talking to ask as to what it is that we're discussing before you make a determination as to whether it was blocking or not.
Person, I mean, I don't agree with that version. I believe that the way the matter was handled is proper, and I believe that this forum where we are now, Honorable Tambo, if he thinks what he discussed with the Sergeant at Arms is worth presenting to this committee, I'm sure he will do that when he gets to that point. So I believe that the structures that have dealt with this matter dealt with it properly.
And I'm asking this line of question because then eventually what you see before the Sergeant at Arms even reports to the Speaker directs that Mr. Tambo be evicted by the Parliamentary Protection Services. Is that of concern to you as someone who's the custodian of the procedure in terms of the rules?
No, it is not of concern, because no member is allowed to hinder the execution of the functions of the Sergeant at Arms when the Sergeant at Arms is, or the protection services are sent to assist a member to be removed. As I want to put the point I put earlier, the chair, the House is run by the chair of the House. So if a member has any concern that the member believes should be raised with the Speaker, then they must raise a point and say that to the Speaker. So that's my response.
And just to round off this line of questioning, you can accept first that the Speaker at no point asked Mr. Tambo to desist from doing what he's doing, correct?
I don't recall that. And she was not required, because members know, at least I expected to know the rules, what the rules say.
Well, if she's not required to tell members to stop what they are doing, then why does she do it?
No, I'm saying, Chair, that there is no requirement for her to say, Honorable Tambo, make way, because the member is supposed to know that he's supposed to make way. So if she had chosen to do that, she would have chosen to do that. But there's no obligation on her to say that.
You can also accept that at no point did the Speaker ask Mr. Tambo to leave the House. Not so?
Because the rules say the member must be removed in the chamber.
You can also accept at no point did the Speaker ask the Sergeant at Arms to escort Mr. Tambo out of the building, not so?
Yes, because there's no such requirement.
And the only thing that happened after Mr. Tambo stood and spoke to the Sergeant at Arms is that the same protection services that were brought in were then asked to also usher out Mr. Tambo as a starting point. Can you accept that?
That is correct. And that's what always happens when members block the removal of members, of other members.
Very well. Before I move to the next subject matter, let us round off Ms. Mkonto's evidence. I'm taking you back to where we started. We have dealt with the question of charge 3. So charge 3 dealt with, the charge says, and it's on page 69, it is alleged that you are guilty of conduct constituting contempt of Parliament in terms of section 13(6), 13C, and 13DI of the powers, privileges, and immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act, and that as a Member of Parliament and during the sitting of the National Assembly on 10 June 2022, when the President responded to his budget vote speech, that you contravened Section 7A of the Act, and that you willfully refused or failed to obey Rule 73(1) when you refused to leave the chamber when ordered to do so by the presiding officer in terms of Rule 70 and or 71. You continued to refuse to leave the chamber when the Sergeant-at-Arms requested you to leave. The presiding officer then instructed the Parliamentary Protection Services to remove you from the chamber. And then it concludes by saying your conduct improperly interfered with the exercise or performance of the House of its authority and functions. And I've suggested to you that she's not guilty of this charge because it was physically impossible to have committed this charge by virtue of her being absent. Let's now deal with charge 1.
Sorry, Madam Chair, if I could just, and also just for purposes of the witness, is it the version of Ms. Konto that she was not present in the National Assembly at all that day?
Chairperson, the version of Ms. Mkondo is that she cannot have been guilty of charge 3, in that it was physically impossible for her to be present, or rather to commit the charge by virtue of her not being physically present in the chamber.
Sorry, Chair, I need clarity on this because this is the version of Ms. Mkonto. The witness also needs the proper version of Ms. Mkonto. Is it her version that she was not at all present in the National Assembly on the 10th of June 2022? It's a yes or a no answer. And I ask my learned friend to please give us, the witness and the committee, the proper version.
Advocate.
Chairperson, my client carries no burden. The burden when a charge is brought is for the initiator to prove. In fact, she was at pains earlier on to make the point that she stands and falls by what she leads before this House. My client's function is to merely discredit and not to assist the initiator. The difficulty with answering the question of the initiator is that then it exposes and gives a clue to Mr. Kaso about what I'm going to ask him now. The prejudice is if I answer that question, then I can't make the point that I want to make now. And for those two reasons, Chairperson, I refuse to answer the question.
Thanks, Advocate Kasiboto. We then move. You're refusing to respond to that question. We note in that as it exposes your next questioning.
Thank you, Chairperson. And
Sorry.
if...
Madam Chair, if I may respond.
Yeah, you still want to come in?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'm quite flabbergasted by my learned friend's answer. This is a very basic principle of a hearing of this nature. And in order to be fair to the witness, but also so that we can prepare for cross-examination of Ms. Mkonto, we need to know what her version is, what her full version is, and it's got nothing to do with the burden or with my onus that I must discharge. This is a factual issue. It is either a fact that Ms. Mkonto was in the National Assembly and attended the proceedings on the 10th of June, or she was not at all there, she did not attend. So this is a factual issue. This has got nothing to do with the onus. And this has also got nothing to do with respect to Mr. Kasiboto about his style of cross-examination and questions that he may want to ask as a follow-up. as a matter of fairness to the witness and to the entire process. Because the fairness issue is not just a fairness issue to the members that is charged, Madam Chair. It's also a fairness issue to the initiator and to the case that I must present. So I ask again that the full version, the factual version of Ms. Mokontu is put to Mr. Kaso for his comment, and so also that we can prepare properly. We have a right to that information, to what her version is. Thank you.
Chairperson, before your ruling, if I can respond to this new submission, if I could indulge and respond to that one specifically as well.
Okay. Please respond.
Thank you, Chairperson. I want to make 4 brief points. The first is this: it is rather surprising that charges are brought against a member, yet we are asked to tell them what happened, who was where. It's their version that she was in the chamber. That's their version. How are we then asked to correct their version and assist them in ascertaining the truth? My client has no onus or burden to assist the initiator. The second point is this: where is the register? If this process was taken seriously in terms of investigation, and I say that with respect, and perhaps I'm better advised to use a different word. The point I simply seek to make is, if you want to ascertain the attendance of members at a chamber or not, there's a register for that. Why can't the initiator have recourse to that register? The third point I want to make is this: the claim that we must give a version is so that we can help the initiator prepare for cross-examination. Well, with respect, I was not told what Mr. Kaso's version will be. I heard his version for the same time in this house, and I prepared my cross-examination as he was testifying. Why should the initiator enjoy a special benefit? And I'm saying to this house, we may well call Ms. Mkondo, and then at that point, she can prepare for a cross-examination. She may decide not to give a version at all. The rules say she's entitled not to give a version at all. She's got that right. And if she then chooses to exercise that right not to testify, then how are we compelled to give her version? And I'm saying, in light of that, Chairperson, I refuse to answer the question.
Thanks, Advocate Kasibota. That is noted. I hope Advocate Golden has also noted that refusal. May we proceed?
Thank you, Chairperson. I was taking you through charge 1 of Ms. Mkondo, which you spoke about earlier. It says, it is alleged that you are guilty of conduct constituting contempt of Parliament in terms of Section 13C and or 13DI of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act, in that as a Member of Parliament and during the sitting of the National Assembly convened on 10 June 2022, when the President, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, responded to his budget vote speech, you contravened Section 7A of the Act when during the proceedings you willfully refused and or failed to obey Rule 69C, when you repeatedly undermined the authority of the presiding officer and or repeatedly refused to obey the rulings of the presiding officer and or disrespected and interrupted the presiding officer while the latter addressed the House. Your conduct disrupted the proceedings of the National Assembly and improperly interfered with the performance by the House of its authority and functions. How did she do that, Mr. Glass?
Person and the committee, the point was made earlier by Mr. Kasiboto that the member was not in the House. And I did say to this committee that it's possible a mistaken identity on my part, genuine mistaken identity on my part. And therefore, if the member was, and I've accepted that version, if the member was not in the house, then I am not able to say how she did this or did not do this, because the version is that the member would not have done it in the house. And I've explained the issue of the identity of members to the best I could. Thank you, Chairperson.
Would the same apply to charge 2?
Certainly, Chairperson, that would apply to the charges, these 2 charges.
Would the same apply to charge 4?
Chairperson, that would apply as far as I'm concerned, on my part at least, as a witness.
We've already dealt with charge 3, you remember?
I do.
So that being the case, we now accept she can't have been guilty of any of these charges.
Chairperson, that would be for the committee to deal with that. I'm just giving my version as a witness appearing before this committee.
I think that's fair. Let us deal with the, if you can just give me a second. Testified extensively. You've testified extensively about members of parliament that called the president a criminal and a money launderer. Do you remember that?
I remember answering questions around that, yes.
And your answer, with reference to the rules, said that was a breach of the rule in that it cast aspersions on the president. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do remember that, and I said more than that, yeah, on the issue.
And on the basis of that, then the speaker is entitled to ask for the removal of those members. Do you remember that?
The speaker is entitled to ask for the withdrawal of those issues. And if there's disregard for authority, to ask members to leave.
Yes. And one would imagine that if another member equally has an aspersion on another member, the same treatment must be meted out by the speaker towards the same or towards that particular member who's conducting themselves likewise. Would you accept that?
If the speaker would have heard that, and maybe if a point of order was raised, or there had been an initial ruling by the speaker on the same issue, the speaker would do that, yes.
I presume yet again, in fact, you've given testimony that you would have gone through the Hansard, you'd have gone through the video that you are dealing with. Can you just confirm that again?
Yes, I've gone through the video and the Hansard, and specifically in respect of the members that are charged.
Correct. Let's have regard to page 263.
263.
267, my apologies.
267.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm the chairperson.
If you have regard to the caption of what Ms. P.P. Makubele had said, she says, Floyd, your name is also mentioned in the matter of Gadi's child. Why are you speaking here in Parliament? And this was a comment made after the Deputy President of the EFF, Shibambu MP, had said the incumbent president has no standing in that house because he's a criminal and money launderer.
Yes.
As the custodian of the rules, and bearing in mind the attitude of the speaker to people casting aspersions, What should the speaker have done about the conduct of this member?
Well, if a point of order was raised, or if the speaker had heard the member, she may have said that she would look at the Hansard and rule on the matter. I don't know what she would have said or what she would have done.
I assume you would have read this page in preparation for this, wouldn't you have?
Yeah, I've read the page.
Did you say anything about this to anyone?
No, I did not need to say anything about it.
You can accept then that this member of parliament cast aspersions on Shibambu MP and there was no consequence for that conduct, not so?
And there was no point of order raised either. Yeah.
If you then have regard to page 284,
Page 284, I
Yeah.
am there, Chairperson.
if you go to the middle of that page, you see there Ms. C.M. Piri. She says, Vendor Building Society, VBS, Shibambu Heist. Do you see that?
Yeah, I see that.
And what she's suggesting there is Shibambu MP is part of what the report of the VBS report. She's implying that is part of what is contained in that report and is being implicated as being guilty in what she calls the VBS Shibambu heist. Can you accept that?
That may have
Sorry,
been,
if you could just give me the page number, please.
284. Answer, Mr. Castle.
that may have been the intention of the member. Yeah.
Do you know if Ms. Piri was charged for saying this?
No. No, and I don't know why she would have been charged for saying it. But
Do you know-
what could have happened if there was a point of order? She could have been asked to withdraw, but charging is an extreme step.
Do you know if the speaker reprimanded her for this conduct?
No, there was no reprimand. There was no point of order, and I don't even know if speaker heard her say this.
So you've got a shield to raise disparaging remarks if there's no point of order raised.
Chairperson, I think I do need to explain this in answer to Mr. Kasiboto. It is not a shield. It is an accepted parliamentary practice that rulings can be given either in reaction to a point of order or when the speaker hears the matter being said and believes that the matter is outrageous and has to be ruled on. So there's really no shield. And yeah.
Can I ask you this? Did you read this page in preparation?
Chairperson, I read the Hansard.
And I'll assume that all the members of all the subcommittees would have read the Hansard, they would have watched the videos. I'm assuming that in their favor, including the members of this committee. Do you know if any of them raised an issue with this?
No, I don't know, Chairperson. And of course, I think I should say this, that parliamentary practice indicates that points of order must be raised immediately in the House for the matters to be dealt with.
This is the difficulty. So if the speaker knows that there's conduct in breach of the rules, until someone raises a point of order, such a person won't be sanctioned.
Chair, I've said it's not always the case. It's not always the case, but it is, members are encouraged to raise points of order when they believe that something is out of order.
Should the speaker have sanctioned these two members for these comments?
if the matter was raised, the speaker would have considered it and the speaker would have made a decision. I wouldn't say what decision she would have made.
What would your advice have been to the speaker?
Because if the matter is I would have said to the speaker that members must raise substantive motions if they want to raise these issues in the House.
Maybe let me ask the question more directly. If the speaker asked you, or any of the committees you advise asked you, is this conduct by these two members parliamentary and are they sanctionable under the rules? What would your answer have been?
I would have said they are possible sanctionable. Of course, the speaker would take the final decision on the matter.
And we now know they've never been sanctioned.
Because the matter was not raised and the speaker might not have heard these members when they raise these issues.
Is there a provision for members to be punished, call it in hindsight, or outside of the parliamentary process?
Person, I request Mr. Kasiboto, with your permission, to repeat the question.
Is there a procedure for members to be punished for unparliamentary conduct outside of the sitting of Parliament?
Mr. Kasiboto can ask the question again if I did not understand him well. Parliament has processes in place, and it's going to be a prolonged answer because I'm trying to get to what he's saying. I don't want to ask him to repeat repeatedly. And so, firstly, I don't understand him when he talks about outside of the parliamentary sitting. I think that's what he said. What I can say is that matters coming out of the House, if there is a basis to refer them to structures such as the Ethics Committee or the Powers and Privileges Committee, that is done, like what we are dealing with today. And that's really my response, and I hope I got his question correctly.
Can you accept that a remark that someone is guilty of being part of a syndicate of what is referred to as a VBS heist is analogous or comparable to calling someone a money launderer? Can you accept that?
No, I can't accept that because I don't know if it is the same. It would be a reflection on the member. That one I can say. But the analogy that you are giving me, I'm unable to accept it because I really have not applied myself to it.
Just as a matter of law, Mr. Glasso, you are saying to me you've got conceptual difficulties accepting that when you call someone a money launderer, it is an equivalent or just as negative of casting of character as calling someone part of a syndicate. You're saying just as a matter of criminal law, you've got conceptual difficulties accepting that.
I mean, you've changed the question now. The way I understood you to say was that whether calling a person a heist, money heist, or VBS heist, and calling a person a money launderer, those are the same. That's the point I was saying. To call a person a VBS heist is negative. It is something that will be reflecting on the member in the same way that you call a person a money launderer. That I accept.
Okay. And you have testified before that the speaker has got a duty to apply the rule fairly across the board, not so?
Yes, that is in terms of the rules.
And you can accept then as a matter of principle that conduct that is the same or comparable must meet the same consequence as a matter of principle, not so?
If speaker becomes aware of such conduct, hears a member say that or the matter is brought to the attention of the Speaker, Speaker would consider it and deal with it appropriately.
Yes. I'm happy with that answer. Let me ask you this now. There are a number of members that you testified about who were sanctioned for calling the president a criminal and a money launderer. Do you remember that?
We were asked to either to withdraw those remarks. Yes. Well,
And they were sanctioned for calling the president. They said that is casting aspersions on the president. They were sanctioned for
Yes.
it. Yes. Are you aware by any chance of a decision called Malema versus the National Council of Provinces?
decision,
A judgment.
judgment. You may remind me what it was about?
I take it the answer is no.
No, just remind me the context. I mean, there are many cases that we deal with in Parliament.
What happened in Malema versus the National Council of Provinces, which is a decision of this provision, of this province rather, is that Malema MP referred to the ANC members as being guilty of massacring, rather murdering people in Marikana. Do you remember those facts?
I remember the case not against the NCOP, but against the chairperson of the NCOP. And I remember that it was about ANC government, not ANC members, ANC government that massacred the people in Marikana.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I also just wanted to correct that. It was against the ANC government, the member.
Was against who, sorry?
Sorry, my apologies. It was not a member. Is that it, Victor?
Chairperson?
Yes, Advocate Kasiboto, we're listening to Advocate Golden. And as you, well, after you dealing with this one, let's get a 5 minutes comfort break. Proceed, Advocate Golden. Let's hear what your plan is.
Can you just give me 1 second, please?
While I'm giving a second, in that matter, you'll recall that Malema MP referred to the NC government as people guilty of murdering people in Marikana, not so?
Yes, I remember that case very well. It's something that was said in a joint sitting of the House, and the matter went to court, and the issue was about the ANC government having massacred people in Marikana, and the court did not have difficulties with the government being referred to have massacred people in Marikana, but the committee must be reminded that it was about the ANC government. Thank you.
Yes. Chair, the initiator had interjected, wanted to make a point. That opportunity was granted. She asked for a second. If I can then just give her that second now.
I now wanted to listen to what he said, and if you could just give me the 1 second now without continuing, would that be okay? Madam Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
And we can proceed. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy with the way that Mr. Kaso contextualized the case. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Advocate Kasiboto, can we get a 5 minutes comfort break?
Sorry, Chair, I did not hear the number of minutes. I'm happy to take the break. Just confirm the minutes.
Yes, 5 minutes. We'll be back at 21 minutes past. What time is it now? No, it's 19, it's 15, 19, 5 minutes. That will be 26 past. Can we please take a 5 minutes comfort break, honorable members?
It's 5 minutes, Chair. Yeah, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
As said, it's 5 minutes, Chair. Thanks.
Recording stopped.
Are we back?
Recording in progress.
Is everybody back?
Just one or two that are not back. Let me call them.
All right, we'll wait for them. Are the other two members not yet back?
No, Chair, sorry, I thought that we were resuming. We can go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was told there are other two people that were still has to be called. Sorry, I'm waiting for the indication. Thanks, honorable members and advocates and your teams. Advocate Kasiboto, let's continue.
Thank you, Chairperson. We were discussing the decision of this province, which we've established, had found that it is parliamentary for Malema MP to say the ANC government massacred people in Marikana. Do you recall that?
Yes, I recall that.
And that decision went to the Supreme Court of Appeal. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And the Supreme Court of Appeal upheld that decision. Do you recall that?
Yes, yes, I do recall that.
And in so upholding that decision, it said members of parliament enjoy a privilege. They equally have freedom to express themselves, including by disparaging and casting aspersions on members of parliament. Do you recall that?
No,
Judge,
it's not
sorry.
correct, Chairperson.
Madam Chair, may I just interject?
Yes, Honor. Advocate Golden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, my Advocate Kasiboto is now asking Mr. Kaso about a High Court and a Supreme Court of an Appeal judgment, which he may or may not have read, or which he may or may not recall all the facts and what the court had said. And I don't think that this line of questioning is, number one, relevant in the first place, and number two, it's not fair, because Mr. Kaso was not given an opportunity to read the judgment. But over and above that, it's not for this part of the hearing to deal with legal arguments and judgments. That is best left for legal argument when we address the committee. It's not fair to Mr. Castle.
Thanks, Advocate Golden. Advocate Kasiboto.
Thank you, Chairperson. Perhaps before I respond, Chairperson, if I can just confirm with Mr. Kaso, because I see he was in a process of responding. I just want to confirm if he's interested in answering the question or is going to take his cue from the initiator before I respond, Chair.
Chairperson, I'm interested to indicate that the ruling did not say members may be abused by calling them whatever insults. But the judgment, as I understand it, said it was not unparliamentary for Honorable Malema to refer to ANC government and emphasis government having massacred people in Marikana.
So, Chairperson, I suppose you would not be giving a ruling, and if you will, my response is this. Mr. Kaso, despite the objection by the initiator, has decided to answer the question, and I do not know whether you want to rule on whether I could ask the question or not.
The horses have bolted. We have already done that, but let's refrain as per the request of Advocate Golden. So let's deal with questions that will be fair to the witness. Yes, he might not remember. He might have not been given a chance to read the judgments. So let's exercise caution on questions for fairness.
Very well, Chairperson. I'll desist from that line of questioning. But I must place on record that the point is simply this. If a court finds it is parliamentary to call ANC government, and I'll submit that ANC government is not tins or desks or cups, it is human beings that mean government. So by extension, reference is being made to individuals. That's the submission I'm going to make. Government is incapable as an inanimate being of murdering. It therefore stands to reason particular individuals are spoken about, and I'll submit specifically the president of the country, the then minister, and the various commissioners. That's the point I was getting at, Chairperson. With that being said, Mr. Klaso, your evidence earlier on, and just to round that off, and if I'm correct on that basis, that it is permissible to call people murderers in Parliament, it must be equally, by extension, be parliamentary to call someone a money launderer or a criminal. That's the point I was getting at. Mr. Klaso, if we then just take a step back, you had earlier testified that it was never brought to the attention of the Speaker that someone had suggested that Shibambu MP is a murderer. Do you recall that?
Yes, I said there was no point of order and the Speaker may not have heard that. Yes.
Let's go to page 283.
23.
283.
283.
Are you there, Mr. Klaas?
Yes, I'm there, Chairperson.
At the end at 283, Shibambu MP speaks. Thank you very much, Chair. After being recognized by the Speaker, sorry. So what comes before it says the Speaker says, thank you, Honorable Litsie. Honorable Shibambu, followed by Honorable Makubel. So the Speaker recognizes and can hear Shibambu speak. Shibambu says, Shibambu MP, thank you very much, Speaker. During the interventions, there was one ANC member here who said we are murderers. They are mistaking us for their president who killed workers in Marikana. We don't kill people in the EFF. It's your president who kills people, and he goes on. Presumably the speaker is listening and he can hear this objection. I'm talking about the point you made that the speaker didn't know,
I didn't say the speaker didn't know. To you, Chairperson.
didn't hear,
I said the
rather.
speaker may not have heard.
Okay, very well. And then you continue. Now, we accept that Shibambu MP made this point after the speaker recognized Shibambu MP. Do you accept that?
Yes.
And you accept that Shibambu MP specifically raised that point of being accused of being a murderer. Do you accept that?
And I accept it, Chair, and I accept that the member could have raised a point of order on that.
Yes. And then
Did not
what you
raise it.
see later on is the speaker responding now to Honorable Shibambu, page 284. Honorable Shibambu, can you please withdraw? Honorable Shibambu, you are requested to withdraw. Honorable Shibambu, we are not throwing you out of the system. Will you please do that?
Mm.
You accept that the speaker does not address Shibambu's complaint. Do you accept that?
I didn't see this as a complaint. Honorable Shibambu say is making remarks. Thank you very much, Speaker. During the interventions, there was one ANC member who said, we are murderers, they are mistaking us for their president who killed workers in Marikana. We don't, this is not a complaint. It's a statement being made. And of course, Chair, through you, Chair, two wrongs do not make a right.
Very well. Is your proposition that if someone makes reference to unparliamentary conduct, at least as far as the speaker is concerned, that when you cast negative aspersions, then you're in breach of the rules. Now, let's assume that's a mindset. And it must be because she reprimanded other people for calling others criminals. Is now your proposition that if you bring to the attention of the speaker what should be unparliamentary conduct, at least as far as the speaker is concerned, the speaker has no obligation to deal with it because not raised as a point of order technically or as a request to deal with it. If it's made as a statement, then it's not incumbent on the speaker to deal with it.
Chairperson, all I'm saying is that I don't know why it was not dealt with, but members know the processes, that when you are aggrieved by something that has been said by a member, you raise it as a point of order. And that is what happens in the majority of cases. And there are instances where the speaker would immediately rule on the matter as it is raised.
But what we can accept is that it was brought to the attention of the speaker that someone called Shibambu MP a murderer, and the speaker did nothing about it to your best of your knowledge. That's the point I'm getting at.
What I accept is that Honorable Shibambu made these remarks and continued to make other remarks, unparliamentary remarks, and the speaker ruled on those remarks.
Which remarks, sir?
The remarks that they are mistaking us for their president who killed workers in Marikana.
And she did not respond to the initial remark, which was a starting remark that we are being called murderers. She didn't respond to that as far as you're concerned.
She responded to the statement of fact that Honorable Shibambu was making. Further record, the record reflects.
I'll ask the question again. When Shibambu made the statement you are called murderers, to the best of your knowledge, the speaker did not respond or do anything about that. Not so.
The speaker did not respond to that aspect of the remarks by by Honorable Shibambu. The speaker addressed the accusations that Honorable Shibambu was making about the president.
To the best of your knowledge, have you, or rather, to the best of your knowledge, has the speaker, the Rules Committee, this committee dealt with this statement by Mr. Shibambu?
No, and of course the member also had a duty to bring it as a point of order to the speaker, or any other member could have raised that. So to the best of my knowledge, that part of the statement was not dealt with.
The conceptual difficulty I have with that is when some of the church members called the president a criminal, no one raised an objection. The speaker responded immediately by saying, withdraw that. Can you accept that?
Yes, I can accept that.
And no one had brought that to the attention of the speaker because the speaker heard it. Not so.
Yes. Yes.
Surely then it is inconsistent of you to suggest that because no one brought a complaint to the speaker, therefore the speaker can't have done anything about it.
Chairperson, I've made a submission. And that's the submission I've made on the matter. Yes.
You are unfair.
Let's deal with the second aspect. Let's go to page 285.
285.
Yes, sir.
I am there, Chairperson.
There you see at the start, Malema MP raising a point of order. The speaker then addresses another issue and then something else happens. And then Malema MP raises a point of order again. And then the speaker says, there's no point of order, Honorable Malema. I'm not allowing you to speak. He speaks nonetheless. He says the issue of Honorable Shibambu was ruled on by the court. And I'm suggesting there was only one matter that relates to Shibambu MP before the courts, and that was the VPS matter. Can you accept that?
Chair, I mean, if you say that, I don't know it for a fact. So I have nothing to accept.
Well, let me assist you. The page before that was the VPS comment by Ms. Piri,
Yes.
MP.
Yes.
And then after she had spoken, not long after, Malema MP then deals with the issue of Shibambu
Yes.
and the court. So it stands to reason he's addressing that issue. Can you accept that?
Yes, no, I can accept that.
Okay. And then right at the end, Malema MP continues. The issue of Honorable Shibambu was ruled on by the court that we can call Cyril Ramaphosa a murderer. This is after, and this is part of the problem, and we'll deal with the issue of the Hansard. There's clearly omitted text there. Can you accept that in the recordal of what Malema MP is saying?
It seems to be something missing. Yes.
Yes. So there's text missing there, and I'll make submissions as to what it is he said there. But anyway, then he says there's a court ruling on that. And then there's a court ruling on the matter. Now, the point is simply this. Can you then insist that the speaker was not aware of the discussion around VPS?
No, I can't insist on that.
Yes. So not only did the speaker know about the VPS complaint, or rather the disparaging remarks against Mr. Shibambu MP, she also knew about Shibambu's statement, Shibambu MP's statement about being called a murderer. And we've established earlier on that the speaker has not done anything about any of those comments. Not so.
We have established that the speaker was not asked to make a ruling on the matter. And of course, she also did not make a ruling on the matter. Yeah.
Precisely. And as an advisor to this committee, would you say the members were treated fairly in this respect? And I'm saying fairly, and I'll be specific. If members that are charged for calling the president a criminal, and that is viewed as disparaging remarks, would you say it is fair if, on the other hand, the speaker is aware of other disparaging remarks where members are called murderers, they are called V-based heist syndicate members, they, on the other hand, are not punished? As a matter of principle, would you say that is fair treatment?
Chair, to start with, I'm not advisor to this committee. So I can't make a comment on the reasoning of the committee on these matters.
No, I'm sorry, Mr. Glasso. Maybe I didn't specify my question, and perhaps that is what misled you. What I mean is, on the part of the speaker, is it fair of the speaker to admonish and ask members to withdraw for calling the president criminal and a money launderer, yet at the same time not reprimand and admonish and seek punishment of members that called Shibambu MP a murderer and part of a syndicate in the VPS heist. Would you call that fair from the speaker's perspective?
Chairperson, I call the manner in which the speaker ran the proceedings on the day fair, and she dealt with the matters before her to the best of her ability, and that would be my version.
So your view is she dealt with the members fairly?
My view is that she dealt with the matters before the House on the day fairly.
Very well. Chairperson, I want to start a new topic of cross-examination. It will take me beyond 4 o'clock. I do not know whether now would be an appropriate time to then adjourn. Alternatively, I continue with the line of examination, starting a new topic. I'm in your hands, Chair.
Thanks for bringing that up, Advocate Kasiboto. As you would know that we scheduled to pause at 4 o'clock. And I want to respect the members and everybody who took their time to be here, because they would have scheduled their time for this hearing until 4 o'clock. So I would request that if your next questioning takes us after 4 o'clock, probably we post here, so that when you start the new topic, you have ample time. Honorable members would have noted that the initiator took about 4 hours yesterday. I was keeping records, and you just went starting from 12:25. We took a break for lunch. Then we were here about over 2 hours.
Sorry, Chair. Sorry to interject, but I'm sure that my opponents will also confirm this, but we can hardly hear you. Your online presence and your audio is very broken up, and we can't hear anything.
Thanks, Advocate Golden. It happens usually when I want to switch on my video and speak to and address the members, but let me switch it off for audibility. I was saying I appreciate the indication from Advocate Kasiboto that his line of questioning will be a new topic that will take us over 4 p.m. We have scheduled, honorable members, these hearings until 4 o'clock, and I want to respect the people who are here and the honorable members, affected members, and everybody. I don't want to trample over their time beyond 4 o'clock. So if that is the case, I would request that we put a pause here. And I was at a point where I was indicating that he still has ample time to deal with his matters. I was taking notes yesterday that it came up to 4 hours, 15 minutes, the evidence being led by the initiator, and you just went just now over 2 hours. So we still have a long way to go with you, Advocate Kasiboto. So I will then request that we pause here, but ask or request both legal teams to meet and also engage the chairperson of this committee on a date to reconvene and continue with this hearing. As we have indicated that we only got scheduled for yesterday and today. So moving forward, let's ask both legal teams to meet and engage with the chairperson as to the appropriate date available so that we reconvene and continue with the hearing. That is what I wanted to say to honorable members, except that thanking you, honorable members, for having allowed me to facilitate these 2-day sessions, and I really appreciate your indulgence with myself, and I hope that moving forward, one will improve, and as and when opportunity arise for any other person who's requested to chair, it's not an easy task, but all members and the legal teams has been guiding us, and we managed to navigate these 2 days. Can we then pause here, as I've requested? We will resume when we are given the date by the chairperson of this committee.
Chair, that is understood, Chair, and we thank you as well for chairing the meeting.
Thank you, honorable members. This hearing stands adjourned.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
You have testified that you can just give me a second. You have charged, or rather this committee has charged one of my clients by the name of Ms. Mkondo, and you've led evidence in respect of her, not so,
Yes.
in relation to the 10th of June, 2022, not so.
Yes, Chairperson, I have. Yes.
And the charges against her that she was obstructive, she physically resisted being kicked out of the house, and so on, not so.
The charges. Chair, allow me to go to the charges before I say yes.
Of course, that would be page 68 of the bundle.
68.
I'll assist you. So at page 69, one of the charges says you continue to refuse to leave the chamber.
Are you reading charges 3 or 2?
Please, sir.
All right.
You continue to refuse to leave the chamber when the Sergeant in Arms requested you to leave. And I imagine the chamber, you're talking about the physical building of the National Assembly where they convened, not so.
Yes,
The presiding officer, that would be the speaker, not so.
that's right.
Then instructed the Parliamentary Protection Services to remove you from the chamber, not so.
Yes,
And that your conduct improperly interfered with the exercise or performance by the House of its authority and functions, not so.
that's correct.
That obviously would have required her to be physically present at the chamber, isn't it?
Yes.
I put it to you that Ms. Mkondo was never at the chamber on that day. What's your response?
I mean, if I misidentified her, I'll take that, but the member that I saw on the screen was Ms. Mkondo.
I'm telling you that's not Ms. Mkondo. You have a response to that?
Obviously, Chair, I'll have to verify the member's identity. And if it is not Ms. Mkondo, then I accept that it is not Ms. Mkondo.
And if it's not Ms. Mkondo, then she is improperly charged, not so.
If it's not the member, yes, she will be improperly charged in this instance.
So you have nothing at this moment to say to me what I'm putting to you is not correct.
I'll have to verify that, Chair, because as far as I'm concerned, as I said, to the best of my ability, that was a member, and I'll have to verify that. Yes.
Maybe then let me assist you. Do you perhaps want to take us to the video and identify the person you call Ms. Mkondo? I'd imagine it'll be right at the end of the video because that's the last testimony you gave. And I'm afraid, Mr. Basu, you're not allowed to use a cell phone under cross-examination. Chairperson, if I can ask that Mr. Basu is asked not to use his cell phone under cross-examination, please. Can you give that ruling?
Thanks, Advocate Kasiboto. Dr. Klaso, please refrain from using the cell phone. Before we proceed, I also see the hands of Honorable Mlenzana and Honorable Kaba. I don't know if you want to come in at this moment. Your hands are up.
Just before they come in, Chair, can I please ask this out of caution, and I mean no disrespect to Kaba MP and Dr. Mlenzana MP. I just want to be very careful here. Can I ask that the contributions they're going to make will not speak to the question that I've just put or suggest anything in relation to the question? I'm obviously not presuming what they're going to say, but in the interest of protecting my clients, I would ask that they do not comment on this particular question. Can I ask for that ruling, Chair?
Can we listen to Honorable Mlenzana and Honorable Kaba? They have heard what you said. Dr. Mlenzana?
Thanks, Chairperson of the session, and greetings to you all, the legal persona, affected members, and everybody in the platform. I will be careful, Advocate Kasiboto, not to cross the lines. I raised the hand, Chairperson, at the time when Advocate Kasiboto was raising, in fact, the first question. And my hand was raised not necessarily to deal with the content or the manner in which he was asking, but it was on procedural matters that now the question that he was actually asking, I'm putting this on record, not for debate, that the question he was actually asking was actually bordering on the committee having had a preview in terms of decision as to whether members are guilty or not, and that I wanted to correct. That is the main. I don't want to dwell much, as I'm saying. I just wanted to correct that. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mlenzana. As you say, you raising this to put it on record. Honorable Kaba.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I think in line with what Honorable Mlenzana had also raised, we are listening attentively. I think the cross-examination does not suggest to temper into the work and cast aspersion on the decisions of what the committee would finally recommend to the House. So it was the cross-examination questions. I'm not concluding to say they were unfair. I'm just calling on the chairperson to request that each party member or each division, if given opportunity to ask, don't temper into other work of the other committee, because as we are not tampering with the legal prep as well. And so I think I rise to second what Honorable Mlenzana had indicated to say, don't cast aspersions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Kaba. Points taken, and both legal teams are here. They have heard that. Can we proceed, Advocate Kasiboto?
Chairperson, I am sure I'm not the only one who is physically in this chamber who could not hear what was being said. And I see the initiator is nodding her head. I presume there was a criticism of my line of questioning. I'm not too sure what the complaint was. And I'll just proceed, and I ask that, Chair, if I cross the line or I do something I'm just being told not to do, it is not disrespect to any of the speakers or you, Chair. I just simply did not hear. And if you need to interrupt me at any point, please do, Chair. Mr. Kaso, I'd suggested to you that Ms. Mkondo was not in the chamber at the time. I'm asking you again, do you insist that it is her? Do you want an opportunity to replay the video and identify the person you called Ms. Mkondo, or do you retract your identification of that person as Ms. Mkondo?
President, my response is that when I said it was Ms. Mkondo, it's because I believed it was Ms. Mkondo. I accept that I may be incorrect. And to the extent that I may be incorrect, because what it would mean, I must verify the picture of the member. In fact, when I was trying to open the phone, I wanted to do exactly that. But I accept, if it's not Ms. Mkondo, then it's not Ms. Mkondo. Then I was wrong. That I will accept.
You know Ms. Mkondo?
Chairperson, I deal with 400 members. I don't know all of them. So often I have to verify the faces of the members that sometimes to know that this is a member. So I know I have seen Ms. Mkondo, but I cannot say that I know her. I've seen Ms. Mkondo as much as I've seen all the members of the House.
Before you testified it was Ms. Mkondo, did you verify it was Ms. Mkondo?
Chairperson, I did not check the records because I just followed the video that identified her as Ms. Mkondo. And that is really what I'm saying. So if it is not Ms. Mkondo, I accept it's not Ms. Mkondo, and I will take that. What I said here is because I believed it was Ms. Mkondo, and I may be wrong, that I accept.
I'm going to have to press you for a yes or a no. Did you verify it was Ms. Mkondo before you confirmed it was Ms. Mkondo?
No, I did not verify. It was Ms.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's the point. You did not verify.
Yes.
And if it is not Ms. Mkondo, as I'm telling you, then the charges must against her stand to be withdrawn.
Chairperson, that will be for the committee to withdraw the charges or not to withdraw the charges. But here I'm just giving the responses as I'm asked.
And if they were to ask your advice, what would your advice be?
Chairperson, I don't advise the committee, so I will not advise the committee. I'm here as a witness, not as an advisor to the committee.
I'm asking you a question in principle. If anyone you advise, let's say the subcommittee, let's say we're at the subcommittee stage which you advise, and they ask you, we're faced with a fact where we've charged a member for something they did not do, what would your advice to that committee or subcommittee be as an advisor?
Chair, I mean, of course, the subcommittee does not charge people, but if we misidentify the person, then we misidentify the person. So that is the wrong person, and you can't charge the wrong person. So
yes. And again, I make this point, and I've made this point over and over again. Yet again, we see the problem with the process of this committee. And I'm putting this to you as a proposition. You have a seasoned advisor such as yourself, who has just confirmed you did not verify identity of a member that you have positively, under oath, confirmed to be guilty of charges. And now you concede you do not even verify the identity. You can appreciate why we have an issue with that as a starting point. You can equally appreciate why we've got a problem with this multi-layered process that includes subcommittees, that includes this committee, viewing the same video, undertaking the same exercise of verifying, yet all of them, including the members of this committee, miss such an important issue. You will then begin to understand our initial submission as to why there must be an independent fact-finding process. As a matter of principle, the answer should be yes or a no. Can you appreciate the complaint that my clients are raising? with the committee processes.
No, I don't appreciate them, Chair.
Thank you. Let's deal with this. Perhaps before I start my second line of cross-examination, Chairperson, perhaps this is proper time. It's 1 o'clock to take the lunch adjournment until 2 o'clock and resume then. I'll take the directive from you, Chair.
Our lunch is at 1:15. It's 45 minutes. If you
Thank you,
want to take that line, then everybody must be back at 1:45.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Recording
Honorable
stopped.
member, 1:45, we all back.
I feel compelled to object at this stage. The supposition that Mr. Kasiboto put to Mr. Kaso, in other words, he put to him that now that we accept that the charges must be withdrawn, Mr. Kaso did not accept that at all, nor did he make the concession that those charges must be withdrawn. The only charges that can be withdrawn, and if it is withdrawn, procedurally, we now know it's already on the record, can only be done by this committee. So I must object to that. That is a flawed and factually incorrect proposition that is put to the witness. It's not fair to him.
Advocate Kasiboto.
Thank you, Chairperson. The question I was asking is this. I'm not going to respond to the objection. Let's move on. The proposal that I made to you is that...
But can we then agree that the committee will make the determination on that?
I'm happy with that, Chairperson.
Chair, sorry.
Yes, as the correct structure.
Sorry, Chair, through you. May I also then ask that Mr. Kasiboto is also duly warned for not putting incorrect propositions to the witness, and this is to be fair to the witness.
Thank you, Advocate Gordon. Advocate Kasiboto, the committee is the one that will deal with the withdrawal or not withdrawal of the charges as the correct structure that we indicated when we started here. We are investigating and we will report to Parliament as correctly said. So please refrain from doing that and withdraw such propositions as indicated so that we don't get hiccups as we deal with your cross-examination.
Thank you, Chairperson. I accept your ruling. Just to assist in that respect, all I simply said is a proposition I put to Mr. Klaso earlier on is that if she wasn't there, then she shouldn't be charged. That's all I was dealing with. That is not a factual inaccuracy. It was his own evidence, but I'm happy to accept your ruling and I'll move on. And I promise, as I haven't, not to put in factually incorrect suppositions. Mr. Klaso, the proposition I then made to you is that the subcommittee on physical removals clearly then did not properly apply its mind, at least to the, I'll show you in other instances where there was incorrect application of the mind and that your evidence was false. But I'm now just dealing with Ms. Mkondo, and I'm saying to you, if your evidence is that the subcommittee ought to have applied its mind to the facts, and we accept, or at least I put it to you, that they ought to, then had they properly applied their minds, then at some point at that subcommittee, it should have been noted that Ms. Mkondo is not guilty of at least charge 3. And you're saying you do not accept that. You say the subcommittee did its job. Now my question is this: how can they have properly done their job if I am correct that Ms. Mkhonto was not available at the chamber.
Chairperson, I think I should make this point, which I had made before. The subcommittee does not charge people. The House does not charge people. The Rules Committee does not charge people and did not charge people. So my submission, Chair, and the committee, and my response to Mr. Kasiboto is that the committee did apply itself properly on the issue. May very well be that there was a misidentification of the person, which was a genuine omission, even on my part. So, but the committee did apply itself. And it, of course, it will be for this committee to consider all those factors when it gets to that point.
The further proposal I'm putting to you is that in the same vein that you, the subcommittee on fiscal removals, had not applied their minds, the same can be said about the Rules Committee, because it too did not raise the fact that Ms. Mkhonto was not at chambers. Is that fair to say?
Chair, as I indicated, the Rules Committee, the subcommittee applied themselves properly on the issue.
And in the same way, I'm accusing you, the subcommittee on the fiscal removal, the committee on the Rules Committee, in the same way I accuse them of not properly applying their minds. This committee did not apply its mind before it made the recommendations to charge Ms. Mkhonto. Do you have a comment?
The committee will answer for itself, Chairperson. That's not for me to respond.
You're saying that's for you to respond.
It's not for me to respond to that.
Why is it for you to respond on the Rules Committee?
Because I support the Rules Committee and I advise the Rules Committee and the subcommittee. I don't advise this committee. So it is for this committee to deal with that matter.
Why is it for you to speak on behalf of the fiscal removal and the Rules Committee?
If you may, Chairperson, through you, if Mr. Kasiboto can repeat the question.
I'm saying you are not prepared to speak on behalf of this committee. You're saying it will speak for itself. Yet you are prepared to speak on the other subcommittees. And I'm saying why.
Chairperson, it's simple. And I'm not sure why it should be an issue. I'm speaking here on for what happened in the House on the days in question. I mean, that should have been the query. Why am I speaking for the House? And I'm speaking here for this in the subcommittee, what happened in the subcommittee and the Rules Committee, because I've indicated I advise those committees.
Very well. But you can accept that in as much as you advise them, they remain human beings that man those subcommittees, not so?
Yes, I accept that, which is obvious. Yeah.
And they've got their own minds, don't they?
No, they do have their own minds.
And you had suggested earlier on, you will not purport to speak on behalf of anyone, including the Speaker. Did you not?
No, I did. Chairperson, I think I need to clarify this. It is my view that that committee applied itself. It is my view that the Rules Committee applied itself on the matter. And that's really my view.
Very well. Let's deal with Rule 73 of the Rules of the National Assembly. You can accept as a starting point that the Speaker is bound by all the rules of the National Assembly, not so?
Yes, the Speaker, like any other member, is bound by the rules of the National Assembly.
Including when she makes rulings, not so?
The Speaker follows the rules of the National Assembly to the best of her ability, as far as I'm aware.
Yes. And she's not allowed to deviate from the rules, not so?
Chairperson, I've said to the best of her ability. That's really what I can say. That members are expected to comply with the rules. Speaker is a member of the House, and so are members of this committee and any other member.
You see, this is the thing with the elongated answers that are not direct to a very basic question. I end up not understanding what the answer is. A yes or no could have sufficed here. The speaker is not allowed to deviate from the rules.
Chairperson, as we have dealt with this before, Mr.